She broke up with me, saying she needed time alone. Then I found her on vacation with her boss. I still remember the way she looked at me that night. Tired eyes, soft voice, hands trembling slightly as she held her tea. She didn't even make eye contact when she said the words. I think I need some time alone. Just to figure myself out. My chest tightened instantly. I didn't see it coming. Not like this. We weren't fighting. We hadn't drifted apart. Just a week earlier, we were talking about what kind of dog we'd get when we moved into a bigger place. I sat across from her in our small kitchen, still in my hoodie from work, spoon hanging awkwardly from my cereal bowl because I had barely touched it. "What do you mean, time alone?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, neutral. I could feel the panic crawling into my throat, but I didn't want to explode. I didn't want to scare her. She shook her head slowly, finally glancing up at me. "I don't know. I've been feeling off lately. Like I don't recognize who I am anymore. I'm always either working or cleaning or planning. And I don't know what I even want anymore." We'd been together for 3 years, lived together for 2. We had routines, inside jokes, traditions. Friday nights were for takeout and documentaries. Sundays were for grocery shopping and board games. Her toothbrush sat next to mine. Her sweaters were folded on our shared dresser. I didn't understand how suddenly she needed space to think. I nodded, swallowing hard. "Okay. Do you want me to stay at my brother's for a while? Just a few days? Give you some room?" The relief on her face stung more than I expected. "Yeah, just for a little. I'm not saying we're breaking up. I just need some clarity." I packed a duffel bag that night. Nothing dramatic. A few shirts, socks, my laptop, my headset for work. My brother was cool about it. Offered his guest room without asking too many questions. I told him she just needed some time to breathe, and he gave me a look that said, "Are you sure that's all it is?" I brushed it off. The first 2 days were brutal. Every notification on my phone made my heart race. Every moment I wasn't in meetings or writing code felt like static in my head. I tried texting her, just casual stuff. "Hey, hope your day's going okay. Made that chicken curry you love. Didn't turn out the same without you complaining about the spice." She replied with emojis. A heart. A thumbs up. No words. By day 4, I was pacing. She hadn't called. No, "I miss you." No, "Let's talk." I checked her Instagram. Private. We followed each other, obviously, but something felt different. Her profile pic had changed. It used to be the one I took of her on the beach, grinning with sea salt in her hair. Now it was just a moody black and white shot of a flower. I noticed some of our photos were gone. Not all, but some of the ones I loved most, deleted. I told myself not to spiral. I wasn't going to be that guy. I respected her. If she needed space, I'd give it. I doubled down on work, took on extra coding projects, stayed up late debugging nonsense just so I wouldn't stare at my phone. On the 6th day, my best friend Jordan called. "Dude, you seeing this TikTok?" I frowned. "What?" He sent me a link. The video was just a random lifestyle influencer doing a montage of her vacation at an exclusive resort. Somewhere tropical, with turquoise water and expensive cocktails. I watched passively, about to close it, until Jordan texted again. "Go to 017. Pause. Look behind the guy with the pineapple drink." My hands started shaking. I went to the timestamp and froze the video. There, sitting on a lounge chair in the background, was someone who looked almost exactly like her. Same wavy brunette hair, same posture, same sunglasses I bought her last Christmas. She was laughing, holding a drink. And beside her, legs stretched toward her, was a man. Older, heavy-set, tanned. His hand was resting dangerously close to her thigh. I didn't want to believe it. My brain started looking for reasons. Maybe it's not her. Maybe it's a weird coincidence. Maybe the image is flipped or blurry or... No, it was her. I zoomed in. The necklace she was wearing, tiny gold stars, was the one I got her for our first anniversary. I sat back, heart thudding. The rage didn't hit immediately. Just confusion. Just this bottomless, nauseating confusion. I messaged her. "Hey, can we talk soon?" No reply. An hour later, she liked one of my Instagram stories about work. No words. I didn't bring it up yet. I was afraid. Afraid of the truth. Afraid that the one person I trusted most had already moved on. And not just moved on, but done it behind my back. I asked Jordan to keep an eye out, see if any more content surfaced. He was relentless when it came to digging. The next day, he sent me another video. This one was on Facebook, uploaded by a woman who had gone to the same resort. I clicked on it, heart pounding. This time, there was no doubt. My girlfriend, no, ex, I guess, was walking along the beach in a sundress, laughing at something someone off-screen said. Then the camera panned. The man walking beside her had his arm around her waist. I recognized him. It was her boss. The same one she constantly complained about. The same man she said was condescending, pushy, and merry. I remembered the countless dinners she came home from, fuming about how he interrupted her in meetings, how he made passive-aggressive comments about her appearance in front of clients. And now they were holding hands on a private beach. Something inside me shattered, not in a loud, dramatic way, but like glass cracking silently under pressure. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just sat there in the dark guest room at my brother's place, staring at the screen, heart empty. She said she needed time alone. She said she was figuring herself out. She was on vacation with her boss, and she never even had the decency to break up with me properly. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, playing every memory in my head like some tragic slideshow. Our late-night conversations, her head on my chest. The way she once cried after a nightmare and told me I made her feel safe. All of it felt like a lie now. How could someone say they needed space and then board a plane with the man they used to call disgusting? I wanted answers, but more than that, I wanted dignity. I didn't want to beg. I didn't want to let her see me unravel. But it hurt. God, it hurt. I muted her stories, archived our old messages, and put away the box of stuff I hadn't realized I'd been carrying around like a fool. Photos, movie tickets, the bracelet she gave me with my initials carved into the metal. I should have thrown it out. Instead, I shoved it in a drawer and slammed it shut. The next day, I went to work as usual. My manager commented on how quiet I was. I just nodded, said I hadn't slept well. I was operating on autopilot, responding to emails, fixing bugs, sipping coffee I couldn't taste. During my lunch break, I opened my laptop and started digging. I remembered something she mentioned a few weeks ago. Her company was planning a leadership retreat at the end of the quarter, but she didn't qualify for it. She said so herself bitterly during dinner. Only the VPs and their favorites get invited, she'd said. It's a load of crap, so how did she end up there? I looked up the resort. It was one of those ultra-luxury places, secluded, by invitation only. I sent them a message from a throwaway account, pretending to be a travel blogger interested in writing a feature. I asked if they had any recent public events, photos, press releases. 2 hours later, a representative sent me a link to their promotional page. There it was, a gallery of high-resolution images, sunsets, beach cabanas, and a photo labeled Executive Leadership Mixer, July 6th. My stomach dropped. There she was, standing next to him, his arm around her waist, her head tilted toward him like they were posing for a magazine cover. She was beaming. She looked happy, effortlessly happy, like I'd never existed. And worse, she was wearing the necklace. My necklace. I felt sick. I forwarded the link to Jordan. She's really doing this, I wrote. He responded immediately. What the actual fuck, man? That's beyond low. I still hadn't said anything to her. I didn't even know what I'd say. I started typing out messages and deleting them. Why did you lie? Why him? Was any of it real? None of it mattered. She had made her choice. She just didn't have the guts to own it. On the 8th day, she finally messaged, "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay." That was it. No explanation. No remorse. No admission. I stared at the message for 10 minutes, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Then I replied, "Are you back from your vacation?" It took her 10 minutes to respond. What vacation? I stared at that text like it was a joke. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I was shaking, not from rage, but from disbelief. The one with your boss. At the beach resort. Don't lie to me? Scene. No reply. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 30. Finally, she responded. Can we please talk in person? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not without screaming. I showed the texts to Jordan. He called me immediately. She's playing you, man. She's trying to do damage control. I knew he was right. But a part of me still wanted to look her in the eyes and hear her say it. I needed to watch her face as the truth fell out. I needed closure, even if it ripped me apart. That weekend, I drove back to the apartment. It was weird seeing the building again. The potted plant I left outside was still there, half dead. I unlocked the door and stepped into the place we once called home. Everything was still where we left it, except it all felt foreign now. The air was heavy, like betrayal had soaked into the furniture. She walked in 20 minutes later. She looked surprised to see me there already. Her hair was up in a messy bun, sunglasses still hanging from her collar. I wondered if those were the same ones from the beach. "Hey," she said cautiously. I didn't say anything. I just stared. She shifted awkwardly. "Can we talk?" I nodded, still silent. She sat on the edge of the couch and folded her hands in her lap like she was about to give a presentation. "I know how this looks," she began. I almost laughed. "No, you don't," I said. Because if you did, you wouldn't have gone. You wouldn't have lied. You wouldn't have sent me that bullshit message about figuring yourself out while you were sunbathing with your boss. She looked down. It wasn't like that. Then explain it to me, I said. Explain the photos. The hand around your waist. The matching drinks. The lies. She opened her mouth but closed it again. Then, softly, she said, "It just happened." I stared at her. You don't accidentally end up at a luxury resort with someone you said made you uncomfortable. You don't accidentally delete photos of us. You don't accidentally cheat. She started crying. Not the kind of tears that come from guilt, but the kind that come from getting caught. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. It was supposed to be a work thing. He invited me last minute. I wasn't going to go, but you did, she nodded. And you slept with him? She hesitated. I asked you a question, she whispered. Yes, silence. I felt like the air had left the room. Like gravity stopped working. I was weightless and heavy at the same time. How long? I asked. 2 months. I took a deep breath. You told me you needed time alone. I did. I stared at her, my voice barely above a whisper. You didn't need time. You needed a way out without looking like the villain. She wiped her eyes, but it didn't matter. I wasn't moved. Not anymore. You could have just broken up with me, I said. I would have respected that. I might have even understood. But you chose cowardice. You chose lies. She didn't respond. I stood up and walked to the hallway where I kept my things. My duffel bag was still there. I started stuffing more clothes into it, whatever was left. You don't have to go right now, she said weakly. I zipped the bag shut. I do, I said. I should have left the day you stopped looking me in the eyes. I didn't look back when I closed the door behind. There was nothing left for me in that apartment. No warmth, no memories I wanted to hold on to. Just shadows and lies and the echo of a future we never had. My brother didn't ask questions when I came back with more bags. He just handed me a beer, patted me on the shoulder and said, You staying as long as you need, man. I muttered thanks, but I barely heard my own voice. I felt numb, hollow, like someone had scooped the insides out of me and left a skin that looked like me behind. For the next few days, I was a ghost in my own life. I logged into work, wrote code, hit my deadlines. No one noticed anything. But every time I closed my laptop, the silence in that guest room roared in my ears. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't scroll through social media without worrying I'd see another photo, another post, another reminder of how easily she replaced me. Jordan kept checking in. Let me take you out, he offered. Just a drink? Just to breathe. I said no the first 3 times. The 4th time, I said yes. We went to a quiet bar downtown, the kind with dim lighting and leather booths. I nursed a whiskey for an hour without tasting it. You need to do something, Jordan said finally. You're just stewing. That's not healing. What do you want me to do? Key his car, he laughed. I want you to get some answers. Some real ones. I already got answers, I muttered. She slept with her boss, lied to me, left me for a vacation and didn't even have the spine to break up like a decent human being. Jordan leaned in. But why did she lie? What else is there? Did she think you'd wait around while she played the field? Did she think you'd never find out? I didn't have answers to that. But the questions stuck. When I got back that night, I opened my laptop and started digging deeper. Not to hurt her, but to understand. To put the final nails in the coffin. I couldn't move on without knowing how far the betrayal went. I still had access to our shared Netflix and Spotify accounts. Forgotten logins she probably hadn't thought to change. I checked the IP logins on Netflix out of curiosity. There it was. A login from a hotel IP in Miami. The exact dates she said she needed space. Spotify showed romantic playlists being played during those days. Songs we never listened to together. One was Electric Feel by MGMT. She once told me it reminded her of someone she used to flirt with at work before we met. That stung. I went further. I remembered her old coworker, Alyssa, the one who quit a few months back and started freelancing. She and my ex weren't close, but they followed each other. I messaged her, politely, from my main account. Hey, sorry to bother you. I just have a weird question. I know you used to work with her. Do you remember if anything was going on with her and her boss? It took a while, but Alyssa responded. Oh boy. Yeah. There were rumors for months. She'd stay late in his office, private calls, got invited to dinners no one else did. A few of us suspected something. I quit before anything was confirmed, but sorry if that's not what you wanted to hear. It wasn't, but it helped. I thanked her and closed the chat. So it wasn't just 2 months. It was longer. I had been living with someone who was already emotionally somewhere else, who was planning a slow escape while I was dreaming about dogs and matching coffee mugs. I sat there in the dark and pulled open my notes app. I started writing, not for her, for me. Everything I wanted to say but never got the chance to. All the confusion, all the heartbreak, all the small humiliations, the unanswered texts, the fake smiles, the half-kisses before bed. It all spilled out of me like poison. The next morning, I went to the gym with Jordan. I hadn't worked out in months. I nearly threw up after 10 minutes on the treadmill, but I kept going. I kept going until I felt something. Anything. Pain was better than numbness. I made a promise to myself that day. I wasn't going to let her be the main character of my life anymore. In the following weeks, I started piecing myself back together. I cleaned up my eating. I unfollowed her. I booked a few sessions with a therapist and, against every instinct in me, actually went. I vented everything. She listened, nodded, asked smart questions. She didn't give me any magic answers, but she helped me ask the right ones. Why had I ignored the signs? Why did I think loving someone meant tolerating the bare minimum? Why did I think I didn't deserve honesty? The anger softened into clarity, and with clarity came distance. One afternoon, about 3 weeks later, I saw her name flash across my screen. I froze. It was a text. Hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I messed up so bad. I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I started typing. Deleted it. Tried again. Deleted it again. In the end, I typed one sentence. I hope you find what you're looking for, and then I blocked her. Not out of cruelty. Out of self-respect. She wasn't my problem. Weeks passed. Then months. The pain dulled, the rage faded, and in its place came something I hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. I still had bad days. There were moments when a certain song or scent, or the sight of someone with her haircut would punch the air out of me. But I didn't drown in those moments anymore. I let them pass. I let myself feel, and then I let go. I threw myself into work, started waking up early, taking long walks before opening my laptop. I began freelancing more on the side, joined a few online developer forums, and even got invited to help beta test a new platform. For once, my career felt like mine again, not something I juggled between relationship compromises. The gym became my second home. I wasn't chasing some revenge body or desperate transformation. I just needed to feel strong again, inside and out. The discipline, the routine, the sweat, it all helped rebuild something in me that she had quietly dismantled. Jordan kept inviting me out. At first, it was just him and a couple of friends. Then slowly I started saying yes to other things. Trivia nights, casual meetups, even a hiking group. I wasn't looking for anyone. But one day, at a bookstore of all places, I bumped into someone who would later matter. Her name was Camilla. She was browsing the same section I was, nonfiction essays about modern relationships. We laughed when we reached for the same book. I offered it to her. She declined, saying, I don't trust authors who say they have all the answers. That was the first thing I liked about her. We talked. We sat down at the little in-store cafe and spent 2 hours discussing everything from Dostoevsky to dopamine detoxes. She wasn't trying to impress me. She wasn't flirting aggressively or pretending to be someone she wasn't. She was just real. We exchanged numbers, and for the first time in months, I felt nervous texting someone. Not because I was scared of being lied to, but because I didn't want to bleed all over someone who hadn't cut me. But Camilla wasn't in a rush. She let things unfold naturally. We talked, laughed, took walks through the park, and slowly, very slowly, I started to believe in honesty again. One evening, maybe 2 months after we first met, we sat watching the city lights from a rooftop bar. She turned to me and asked gently, What happened to you? I mean, before we met? I hesitated. Not because I didn't trust her, but because saying it out loud made it real again. But she waited, eyes soft, no pressure. So I told her, not everything, not in one go, but enough. Enough for her to know why I sometimes paused before replying to compliments, or why I always double-checked that she got home safe. She listened, didn't interrupt, didn't offer cliches, just reached across the table and held my hand. You didn't deserve that, she said. And I'm sorry someone made you think you did. That night, I cried for the first time in a long time. Not out of heartbreak, but out of release. It was like everything I'd been carrying finally had somewhere to land. We didn't label things immediately. We just kept showing up for each other. And over time, something beautiful grew between us. Not from desperation, but from choice. We chose to be honest. We chose to be kind. We chose each other. One afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. It was short. I heard you're doing well. That makes me happy. I wish things had been different. I knew it was her. She didn't sign it. She didn't have to. I stared at the message for a while. There was a time when I would have clung to those words, turned them over in my hands like broken glass, hoping they meant something. But now they felt like a footnote in a chapter I had already closed. I didn't respond. I deleted the message. Because things were different. I had changed. And I wasn't going back. It's strange how time softens even the sharpest memories. There was a point where her name felt like a wound. Now, it's just a name, something that belongs to another life, a different version of me. Camilla and I took things slow, intentional. We didn't rush into declarations or grand gestures. We learned each other like people learn new languages. Carefully, patiently, sometimes clumsily. But it was honest. That's what made it feel sacred. A few months into dating, I told her everything. The full story. The lies, the vacation, the confrontation, the manipulation. I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't make myself the hero. I just told it how it happened, as plainly as I could. She didn't flinch. She didn't pity me either. She simply looked me in the eye and said, "You didn't deserve to be treated like a backup plan." That phrase echoed in my head for days afterward. A backup plan. That's exactly what I had been. Someone to return to if the boss thing didn't pan out. Someone to keep warm until a better option was ready. I wasn't loved. I was convenient. I was safe. But not anymore. I started setting boundaries I never had the courage to set before. I started prioritizing my needs, my peace. I learned to listen to my gut. That little voice I used to ignore every time something felt off. I also began writing again. Not code. Real writing. Thoughts, reflections, the kind of things I used to be afraid to say out loud. I posted one long entry on a subreddit for people recovering from betrayal. Just poured it all out. How I was lied to, how I felt worthless, how I rebuilt from nothing. It went viral. Thousands of comments. People thanking me for putting into words what they were too ashamed to admit. I stayed up all night reading them. Some cried. Some shared their own stories. Some said they finally left toxic relationships because of what I wrote. I had no idea I could help anyone just by telling the truth. The next day, a moderator messaged me and asked if I'd be open to publishing my story on a larger blog. I said yes. And just like that, something that once almost broke me had turned into something healing. Not just for me, but for strangers I'd never meet. And then came the twist I didn't expect. It was a Sunday morning. Camilla and I had just finished making breakfast, banana pancakes and strong coffee. We were sitting on my couch, wrapped in a blanket, half watching a movie when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. "Hello?" There was a pause, then a familiar voice. "Hey, it's me, her." I stood up and walked into the hallway, my stomach suddenly tight. "What do you want?" "I know I shouldn't have called. I saw your post. Someone sent it to me. I read it. I didn't say anything. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For real this time. No excuses. No spin. You were good to me, and I was selfish. I see that now. I don't expect anything, I had to say it out loud." I closed my eyes and breathed in slowly. "I appreciate the apology," I said. "I really do. But I've moved on. I'm with someone now. Someone good. Someone honest." "I know," she whispered. "You deserve that." There was another pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I thought he was going to change my life. But he only used me. He's with someone else now. And I realized too late what I gave up." I didn't respond. "I hope she treats you better than I did," she said finally. "She already does," I said quietly. And then I hung up. I didn't tell Camilla about the call until a few days later. When I did, she smiled, nodded, and said, "That must have felt good." "It did," I admitted. But not in the way I expected. I didn't feel powerful or vindicated. I just felt free, because that was the truth. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't haunted by what-ifs. I was free. The call felt like the last loose thread being tied off. After I hung up, I didn't think about her again for a long time. Not in that way. Not with pain or longing or even resentment. Just closure. A sealed chapter. Life kept moving. Camilla and I grew stronger together. We didn't always agree on everything, but we talked through it. No guessing games. No manipulation. If something hurt, we said it. If something mattered, we showed it. I learned how beautiful a relationship could be when both people actually wanted to be there, and not just until something better came along. My career picked up too. The blog post caught the attention of a mental health startup that focused on emotional recovery and relationships. They asked me to collaborate on a content series about healing after betrayal. I hesitated at first. Who was I to give advice? I wasn't a therapist. I wasn't even sure I had it all figured out myself. But they weren't asking for perfection. Just honesty. So I wrote. I shared my story again, in more detail. I wrote about how it feels to be lied to by someone you trusted with your soul. I wrote about how healing isn't linear, how some days you'll feel empowered and others you'll crumble because a stranger wore their perfume. The response was overwhelming. People wrote to me, telling me I'd helped them leave abusive relationships, that they'd found the courage to choose themselves. Some said they'd finally stopped blaming themselves for someone else's betrayal. It made everything I went through feel useful. Camilla was proud. She read every post I published even when it brought tears to her eyes. She held my hand through every difficult sentence, every painful paragraph I had to relive to write. She didn't flinch when I needed to revisit my past. She just reminded me that I had a present worth holding on to. One day, about a year after that beach trip that wrecked me, I passed by my old apartment. I wasn't planning to. I was running errands, and there it was. Still the same gray building, same crooked mailbox out front. For a moment I stood there, looking up at the window that used to be mine. I remembered the nights we stayed up planning trips we'd never take, the dumb fights over what show to watch, the way I used to wait for her key to turn in the lock, thinking that meant everything was okay. I smiled, not because I missed it, but because I finally saw it clearly for what it was. A chapter. Just a chapter, not my whole story. As I turned to leave, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need to prove anything. Not to her, not to him, not even to myself. I had survived. I had grown. And most importantly, I had chosen not to stay broken. Later that night, Camilla and I sat on our balcony with glasses of wine, watching the city lights flicker below. She leaned her head on my shoulder and asked, "Do you ever think about her?" "Sometimes," I said honestly, "but not in the way I used to. It's more like I remember who I was back then, and I'm just glad I'm not him anymore." She nodded. "I like who you are now." I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who had met me when I was still bleeding, and never once flinched, who walked beside me through the rebuilding, brick by brick, who saw my scars and never treated me like I was ruined. "I like who I am now too," I said. We sat there in silence, wrapped in each other and the warmth of everything we'd built from nothing. And in that moment, I realized something simple and profound. She didn't break me. She freed me from illusions, from denial, from a life that wasn't meant for me. And sometimes the most painful endings are just the universe redirecting you towards something far better than you ever imagined. That night, I finally slept without dreaming of the past, because I was too busy living the future.